one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. Roll call.
Mayor Orr,
Here.
Councilor Villagrana, Councilor Baker,
Here.
Councilor Smith,
Here.
Councilor Upton,
Here.
Councilor Henniger,
Here.
Councilor Vendetti,
Here. Okay. We're missing one, huh?
We have a quorum.
Yeah. Okay, I need the approval of the minutes, the regular meeting of January 4th, 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th, 2016.
I'll second.
We had a first, and who was the second? Pat. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilor Upton,
Yes.
Councilor Smith,
Yes.
Councilor Vendetti,
Yes.
Councilor Henniger,
Aye.
Councilor Baker,
Aye.
Mayor Orr.
Aye. Okay, moving on, we'll move on to the visitors, and the first one we got up is Car Show Dick, it says.
Yes, it does.
I don't know if that was phrased like that or what, but
I'm going to be presenting on the car show in your, I talked to Mike if I need to get somebody else to do it or not, and he said I have no financial gain on this. In fact, I have a financial loss every year on putting on the car show because I donate too much. But anyway, what we need is a street closure for the downtown, and in your packet there's a diagram which would block off Main Street between Maple and Petroleum and the side streets on Pikes Peak and Santa Fe up to the alleys, both north and south. And this is the same it's been for the last few years. So it's nothing new. In fact, all I did was take 2015 and make it into a 6 for 2016. So we need to put that to council for approval to block off the streets on May 22nd, 2016 from 5:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock.
So we need to correct your agendas, we were a week off.
What,
It's actually the
yeah, because it says
22nd.
May 16th.
what did I have?
You didn't have it.
Oh, I forgot to
May
change that date.
16th, it says.
So it is May 22nd.
Okay, so we need to scratch that.
And Dick, considering how much success you had last year, is this enough space?
Well, this year we'll have to move the rubber ducky into the bank parking lot, because when the duck was there, nobody seemed to park there. And that's the Rotary Club benefit, the giant rubber duck. It's how many stories tall, Mr. Baker?
I don't know. At least 2. At least, 3. Let's give 3
In
stories.
parades, they have to deflate it to go into the wire, so we
Yeah, we know that.
So that is going to be adequate?
Well, we hope so. We grow every year, so, and we didn't have it entirely full because of that one street, so I'm hoping that that'll be enough. If not, we'll hunt and get everybody in.
And you're not going to have a swap or anything, car swap?
No swap
Okay.
meet.
All right.
Dick, would it make sense for us to wrap the closure all the way up to the library in case you need it?
Instead of the side streets?
Well, the problem we run into is the fire station,
Oh, good point, yeah.
so that's why we have to stop at Maple.
All right.
I would love for
Charlotte?
it to go down in front of the bike shop and maybe the brewery right there on Front Street. So going, instead of stopping at the alley on Pikes Peak, going all the way through.
Well, we have to stop at alleys for emergency access.
Right. So we got that.
You couldn't just leave the alley unblocked,
So
so emergency vehicles can go.
Yeah, because they can't go down Main Street, so they got to go down the alley if
Right.
there's something going on.
But-
That's what you're
Front
saying,
Street.
right?
Yeah, but you can leave those unblocked, no cars in front of that, so they can still access from Petroleum down the alley, all the way down to Santa Fe.
It doesn't hurt, I mean, worst case scenario, you don't use
Well,
it.
we can open it up, and if we don't need it, we don't need it. So that's up to council how much they
Pikes
want
Peak
to
go beyond
do.
that, go another half block beyond that, is that what you're saying?
Right?
We'd have
Or-
to amend the map, but I think council knows what we're saying. Basically, just like we did for the Louis Street dance and for the steampunk thing.
Yeah.
At least the Pioneer Days one.
Okay, so
Are you okay with that, having one more half block just in case
that's
you need
fine.
it?
You know, if it's available, if we need it.
Although the thing we learned on that half block is if we end up deciding to do that, let's make sure to tell all the neighbors there.
But it's okay
Well,
with
what
that.
I do for the people parking there every year is go out about a week before and put a notice in everybody's windshield, and then again the day before, so that people realize they can't park there during the car show.
But what he's saying is you need to go to them and make sure they're okay with it.
Well, not even so much, just at least that they know,
No,
so that they can plan, like at the,
Like we make everybody else do.
right. There was a miscommunication on that other half of block. I think, I don't know, your side might have known about it, but I think the hair place and some of the other places there didn't get informed at Pioneer Days, which has absolutely nothing to do with you, but,
So you're saying go around to the businesses and residences and
right,
just
just make sure they know,
okay.
because some of them might run
Yeah.
sales or whatever else to try to take advantage, because the whole point of doing these things is to try to bring people to shop in our
Yeah.
town.
Right. Okay,
Okay, anything else?
all right. So I need a motion.
And probably make it clear in your motion if you want, Dick, do you want that extra half block just in case?
That's fine.
So when you make a motion, you want to probably say, as the map shows, plus the half block on Pikes Peak from the alley to Front Street.
Okay?
You want me to make the motion or
No?
somebody else?
I would make that motion.
Okay.
All right, you gotta make it then. If you're gonna do it.
Yeah, but this is the first motion I've made.
You gotta get your feet wet sooner or later.
Okay, well, I make a motion that we approve the street closure on May 22nd, 2015,
16.
2016, from
Main Street, Maple to Petroleum,
Main Street, Maple to Petroleum,
and on Pikes Peak
and on Pikes Peak, in Santa Fe,
to Front Street and,
to Front Street
Second
and
Street.
Second Street.
is that what we were talking about or just one way?
That's pretty easy.
We were just going from Main Street to Front Street or also to Second Street?
Yeah, as long as it's clean so everybody can understand, because it sure didn't.
Just to Front Street?
Well, you could go the other way if you wanted to, I think it's fine.
Okay. There you go. Both ways to
Both ways to
Pikes Peak,
Pikes Peak.
to Front Street and to Second Street.
I'm not voting.
Or get it in front of the new chamber.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be best, if we actually had it both ways.
Okay.
All right, and the hours were 5:30 to 3, is that right?
5:30 to 3,
Okay.
and also on Santa Fe to the alleys, both directions.
And also to on Santa Fe to the alley in both directions.
Okay,
I'll second.
after all that,
Good job.
I'll just stick to seconding now.
did we have a second?
It did.
'Cause I'm confused.
Try that.
We had it, I know, but that wasn't the easy part. Roll call, please.
Counselor Vendetti,
Aye.
Counselor Henniger,
Aye.
Counselor Upton,
Abstain.
Counselor Smith,
Yay.
Counselor Baker,
Aye.
Mayor Orr,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Yeah, motion passed.
Okay, now the second part on the car show is, last year we instituted partnerships, and we would like to form a partnership with the city of Florence again this year to take advantage of the insurance.
Is that what? Show that on?
I think that's what he meant by the first one, we just have them out of order.
I think.
I think we did the second one first and now
Yeah.
we're doing the first one.
We did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause it doesn't say that.
Does that negate it?
It really need,
No, I don't think that negates it. It's on
I
the
think
agenda.
you're right. You're on here with respect to the car show, so I think you can consider all aspects of the car show.
And this worked fairly well last year. There's no extra insurance. The city covers it. It doesn't cost us anything extra. It's part of, if we're a partner in this, and it does not cost us any extra to do this through CIRSA. And so from a staff perspective, we're already out there setting up the barricades. We've already got our police officers out patrolling it. Our public works guys dumping the garbages and setting up barricades and getting it all cleaned up for us. So we're functionally a part of this anyways. This is just facing reality. And from staff's perspective, it makes a lot of sense.
okay.
Excuse me, thank you. So we need a motion?
I think you probably need a motion.
Yeah.
The motion was made, and you seconded.
Oh, right, that was for the street closure.
That's for the street closures. This is for the city to cover the
The city to be a
insurance
partner.
Okay.
To be a
partner
part.
of it.
I'll make a motion that the city partners with the Merchants Car Show.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Counselor Henniger.
Aye.
Counselor Baker.
Aye.
Counselor Vendetti.
Aye.
Counselor Upton.
Abstain.
Counselor Smith.
Hey,
Mayor Orr.
Aye. Okay, now we got the north and south portal sign, and that's,
Okay.
did you just fill up all tonight or what?
Pretty much. Okay, there are some flyers on the front table if you'd like to take a look. These are north and south portal signs. Okay, well, I'll back up a little bit. You can come up and get these if you want to see actually what I'm talking about. I'm the Florence representative to the Gold Belt Byway program, and the Gold Belt has a grant to fund all the signage in Florence that's in the process of being developed. Now, this same grant is the money that made the little historic building signs that are around town. And the new logo for Florence is Find It in Florence with a magnifying glass. One committee is working on the downtown signs that will go as directional signs to Find It in Florence Museum, Find It in Florence Art Center, and all throughout town. So Lynn Oliver, I think, is heading up the committee on that. But those signs are also funded by the Gold Belt Byway program. Now, my committee is working on the two entrance signs to Florence, the north and the south. So basically, there's four themes in Florence. There's oil, coal, agriculture, and railroads. And we've covered the first two with the oil and the coal. Now, one of these would be coming down on 67 from the hill, and the other would be coming from the prison on South 67. So the proposal is, and this is not set in stone, that's why you have some copies to look at if you want to make additions or deletions or suggestions, put them on there and then just get them to me by the end of the meeting. But basically it says, welcome, Find It in Florence, as a railroad heritage. And these would be a two-part sign. You would read the one, welcome to Florence, coming into town. And as you leave, the other sign would say, like, thanks for visiting Florence and come see us again. And this is a street scene of Florence that the merchant developed years ago, and thanks to Maury for passing it along to me. But anyway, this is just a proposal, so it's open to all your suggestions. And the other one is the agricultural heritage, which probably go up by the prison. And agricultural heritage promoting the Colorado orange apple, which was unique to this area and developed by Jesse Frazier back in the 1800s. And then again on the back side is thanks for coming. So if you have any suggestions on those, please note them. One thing that I got so far tonight was on the signs, put a website like finditinflorence.com that can, people can then get other information. So, any comment off the top, or just write on them and get them to me? Okay.
No. Okay, is that it, Dick?
Well, that's it.
Okay, let's move on to our next visitors. Let you have a little bit of a rest there.
Thank you. I'm dry.
And do you mind if Mike goes first with the ballot?
Yeah, go ahead. You never talk.
Well, one last comment on the signs. These would be 4-foot by 6-foot signs.
Okay. All right, Mike? Yeah, you.
Real quick, I get accused and not accused, but I've been asked by the council and city manager that when we do hire new officers, that I introduce them to you, so I'd like to introduce three new officers. We'll start with the littlest one. That's Kilo. He was a donation to us. He's an 8-week-old purebred German Shepherd, chipped.
I can't see him.
We can hold him up here.
Tough? Oh, look
He's
at
going to be a
him.
big boy, as you can tell. He's going to be assigned to Detective Dorman. He's going to be narcotics trained and tracking trained. He's not going to be right now patrol trained or SWAT trained, which is the biting and that type of thing. So, and he's not going to be marijuana trained because of the courts don't, it's an issue. So we're just going to train him in the Schedule 2. So that's Kilo. He was named by the department. They picked his name out. He was delivered to us yesterday. Comes from a high bloodline. So,
What kind of dog is he?
he's a purebred German Shepherd.
Okay.
So, I'd like to introduce you to Tiffany Rianne Thomas. She's from Canyon City. She's new to law enforcement. She is an aide over at the school, like a nurse's aide over in Canyon City. That's where she's working now, but she's come to us. She just graduated the academy, and so she's come to us as a reserve officer, and we're going to start training her and
Great.
letting her learn the field. She picked us, and I'm happy she did, that she picked us to come here. So we're excited about having Tiffany here. And then there's Richard Keith Poole. Richard's from Florida. He was a deputy sheriff down in Florida, 7 years law enforcement experience. He's been up here a few years. And he is one of our one of our explorers advisors. He's been on about 8 or 9 months helping the explorers and being a mentor for the kids and working with our 2 SROs with different school programs. So he comes to us as a reserve also with a lot of experience. So I wish you'd welcome him as we did, and we're glad they picked our department. And Richard lives in Penrose.
Yes.
So they're both very close. So and of course, he's going to be going through a lot of training. His first thing is obedience and to get to know his family, but really good temperament already.
Cute.
So it did me twice. He likes opening water bottles. I don't know why. Opened 3 water bottles in my office, so.
Are you sure that was water bottles, Mike? Are you sure that was water bottles?
Yeah, they were water bottles.
So who's he gonna live with right now?
Dorman.
So he'll always be with Dorman?
Yep, we're going to transfer a lot of the K-9 equipment that the city bought, which Sergeant Humphrey has. Dorman's already setting up. He lives in High Meadows. He lives in Florence. Probably shouldn't have said that, but I apologize. He'll yell at me later. And he's got a fenced-in yard. He'll be living with his family and getting to know them. They were here yesterday, getting to know him, and so we'll make the move sometime at the end of this week.
Okay.
I'm excited because it'll be another new aspect that we're going to put in. We've kind of declared war on drugs in Florence, and we've been very active over the last several weeks of taking many people off the street involving selling narcotics in Florence.
Try to blip that part off the,
I'm sorry, what's
try
that?
to blip where he lives off the recording.
Yeah, I'm trying to smooth over that, so I'll just say it must have been your voice on the recording, not mine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Next visitor is Tim Jordan.
Hi, Tim Jordan, 844 Sumo Avenue. Recently, last week, I went over to the Humane Society and met with Doug Ray for about 15 minutes and got a packet of information from him. I didn't tour the facility or whatever, just chit-chatted, and he gave me this information to look at.
They can't hear you, Tim.
Oh, I gotta speak up?
Just go ahead and pull it out.
Okay. It looks like in here, the last document that came from the city of Florence was December the 21st over to the Humane Society. Is that correct? Okay. And it looks like the city wants the Humane Society to show financials that justify the increase that has been presented. In this packet of information, the contract for the last 10 years was $4,500 a year. And for 2016, it's going to go to $6,843. So I'm fine with whatever you guys decide to do, guys and gals decide to do. But I think at this point, with all the miscommunication or rumors that are flying around, that maybe it might be better that the city and the Humane Society look at scheduling a workshop and maybe air out the differences and clear the air. Because as it stands right now, if I pick up a stray dog, I can't drop it off over there.
You can for this month.
Okay, so
Yeah,
next
for a
month
little while.
to save it. So, you know, that's not going to afford the residents here that want to surrender a dog or pick up a stray, they're not going to be able to do so. So if that's the bridge that you're going to cross, it might be one of those where you guys get into a workshop and figure out what's going to happen with this. I know the rate increase is substantial. I don't know why it has jumped that much. That's not for me to decide. I think the city's, it looks like you guys and gals are probing to try and figure out what the rate increase, what's going to justify it. And maybe they need to be a little transparent with that. I don't know where you can get that from other than maybe them over there or inviting that board in for a workshop. But I think it's just something that the sooner the better, especially with your contract, as Mike said, for another month. I think there was a request for a 90-day extension to look at it. The clock's ticking on that. Maybe now's the time to get together with the Humane Society and figure out what you guys and gals are going to do. The other part is in the contract is the sick and injured animals. That's something that needs to be hashed out, because once you take possession of the animal, if it's sick or injured, per the contract, you can't take it to the Humane Society. You're going to have to take it to a vet. And the city's going to be financially on the string with it. I don't know how much that's going to cost if you have dogs that are sick or injured, but that's something else that needs to be looked at. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tim. Mike's got a question for you,
Well,
Tim.
not so much a question for Tim, just to follow up on it. That is one of our biggest concerns. How would that function? The rate increase is one thing, but that's a real big concern, I think, for all of us. How is that practically going to function? Because if we can't be obligated to a bunch of money that we haven't authorized. So it puts us in a real difficult position there, and what's going to happen with that animal and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of questions that would have to be worked out aside from just the money.
Okay, thank you.
Good. All right, is there any other visitors that'd like to come up and talk? Mr. Miller?
John Miller, 111 Church Avenue. I'm kind of the representative for Florence for FCTC, and I'd just like to announce tonight that the business, some of the events going on this year for FCTC or for Florence, there's a lot of people in town that wrote grants for funding for advertisement. The first one is the City of Florence for the Mayor's 4th of July annual parade, wet and dry. We awarded them $500 for advertising for that event. The Florence Art Council for Paint the Town, we awarded them $750 for advertising. The Florence Chamber of Commerce For Junk Teat Craft Fair, we awarded them $750 for advertising for that to help bring it up this year in attendance. The Florence Community Project Office wrote one for the Florence Barn Dance and Pie Auction. We awarded them $450. The Florence Merchant Car Show for advertising, we awarded them $750. For the Florence Pioneer Museum, the Coal Town Tour, we awarded $300. The total of that came to $3,500 for the city of Florence out of the $8,000 for the county. So we did pretty good here, and next year hope to do better. So that's all.
Good job.
Any questions?
No, thank you for helping us on that. Do we have any other visitors that'd like to come up? Okay. Unfinished business, a public meeting with Public Works Street Assessment. And that's you and Sam?
Well, me to start off with, and then Sam.
Yep. Okay.
As you will all recall, we passed, the voters approved the extension of the half-cent sales tax with the specific purpose for these dollars to go toward streets and sidewalk repair in the community. And so part of what we wanted to do was hear from the public. I did receive a note from one individual that I'll read into the record in a little bit. But Sam and his department, Sam, our public works director, prepared a streets assessment so people could go through and see some of what was out there that needed to be done. But what we really wanted to hear, along with people rating those, is what folks in the community think. So we're hoping that we would get some people tonight to step up and basically tell us what they see as the highest priorities in the community. We want to point out that this is a 10-year tax. We won't necessarily, even if everybody comes up tonight and says one particular street is their highest priority, we might not necessarily be able to get to it this year because of cost, as well as we're seeking grants. We're trying to take this money. It'll be about $170,000 a year, about $142,000 in the half-cent sales tax, and about $30,000 in excise tax. And we're trying to match that with grants. Each year, the state and CDOT and other entities have grants available. So something that might be the highest priority might have to wait a year or two before we get some grants to match that. And we want to make our $170,000 a year. We want to try to turn that into a lot more money than that by matching. So we're looking, on the other hand, it might be what people are saying they see as the number one priority. It might be exactly where we can find grants this year. So that's what we're looking for. Is we're hoping folks will come up. We'll maybe start off with giving folks the opportunity to ask Sam any questions that they might have. Sorry, Sam. And then from there, ask people to step up and give, if you want to tell us about a particular block or a street or something that you see of high interest. One thing we want to point out, Highway 115 and Highway 67 are state roads. So those roads are not necessarily ones that we will be doing the repair on. The state will be, and we've got projects on both 67 and 115 that we're working with the state on. However, the sidewalks are, generally speaking, stuff that we'll have to fix. The state is not likely to come in and fix sidewalks. So with that, Sam, do you mind jumping up there real fast? And if anybody has any questions for Sam, Martin Lancaster is here as well from Public Works. And if you have any questions, or if council has any questions, if not, we'll then turn it over to comments. Any questions for Sam?
You going to do anything about North Fraser? South Fraser looks pretty nice now.
Yes.
Fraser don't look very good, especially down by the school.
Yeah, you live over here you're on West 9th, right, sir?
706 West 8th.
West 8th, okay, yeah. Yes, there was some miscommunication when we started this project, I understand. It wasn't worded right. We were supposed to start at West 3rd and go on North Fraser South. And I understand where you're coming from, and it is on the list, yes, sir.
They're going to redo it?
It's on the list for grind and heavy paving, yes, sir. That's the input I'm looking for. You know, I don't know where to prioritize that, or what the public looks at, that type of prioritizing, where it stands in the list. We haven't even got that far. But it is on the list.
I mean, it's kind of nice coming in downtown there.
Yes, sir.
You take the kids to school, you drive to potholes.
Yeah, and the manholes and all that stuff, yeah, I understand, yeah, it's in dire strait.
And that is an area that potentially, at least the first block or so, we might eventually be able to put into a combination of a Safe Routes to School grant. So that's when we look to combine, at least on the first block or two. Once we get beyond about 4th Street, it's more difficult to make that Safe Routes to School claim, but we'll try.
You're down on 8.
But, and remember, when I say that, I'm not saying we won't do the rest of it, I'm just saying we would try to levy those couple of blocks, particularly on Fraser, where everybody's going to come in. That would make a lot of sense to levy it with a Safe Routes to School grant, or at least basically from 3rd to 4th, or maybe even 5th, I don't know, at least halfway down that block.
Yeah, because of the field there, probably.
Okay. Anything
Any other
else?
questions for Sam? Any from council?
I don't see anything on here for West 7th or West 8th Street, down where it's all gravel right now. And then also, I think it's Green Street that's gravel. Is that something that, or not Green Street, the one that,
Canfield?
yeah, Denver Street. Is that within the, something that can be worked on, maybe
Yes,
even a
that's
chip
something
seal?
we put in the scope. You
Okay.
bet.
Well, two that I look at, and that East Front Street, I mean, that street that's a disaster.
East Front.
And it does take that takes a lot of heavy traffic, and it's truck traffic. I do know that. I mean, it's worse than a washboard now. So I would like to see that one right up near the top. And then on Pikes Peak, and you're talking about there in the 100, 200 block, and that receives quite a bit of traffic. So, and both of those are total reconstruction, and that would probably wipe out the first year's money, if it was
Very well
enough
could.
even to do it.
I got some numbers here I'll have to share with you all.
And I don't know what kind of numbers, but I try to avoid the Front Street, although I always zigzag kind of through it because it is so rough.
It is, yeah.
Well, there's so many in this town that's rough streets.
Yeah, that's why we put the list
I'm
out to
thinking
you all.
total traffic though. There's a lot of traffic using that.
Yeah, and East Front Street, I mean, it's more like a war zone in terms of the potholes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and of course, in Ward 1 East 3rd Street is pretty well chewed up. And, when they had the Main Street project, that really took a toll on it when all the traffic.
Yeah, when they had to go all the way down to Florence Avenue and around.
Yeah.
And that's on the list, though.
They're all on the
We
list.
just need to
Just
prioritize.
trying to get to all of them.
Yeah,
And realistically, we are not, even with 10 years of taxes, unless our sales tax suddenly jumps through the roof, we're not going to be able to do the whole town. But we'll try to make.
At least we're getting started. That's all that matters. At least we're getting a start on it. Okay. Anyone else have any questions for him? Okay, thank you, guys. New business.
What do you want to see if anybody else wants to come up and comment?
Well, I just asked him if anyone else had any questions.
Oh, okay. Something to comment.
And they didn't speak up, so I don't think
Okay.
anyone else did. New business, Board of Zoning Adjustments and Council Appointment. And what do you have, Wade?
What do we do then?
Yeah. So this is the Bozo,
This is the Bozo one.
and how many's vacant on it?
That's what Wade has to answer.
Wade, would you like to come up here and explain this to us? That'd be great.
Just one, you're right.
The one thing.
And John put in for it, John Miller.
Who is vacant? What whose vacant seat is on?
Isn't it John's? Yeah, and John's
It's John.
asking to be reappointed.
He's off of it?
Mr. Mayor,
What?
Mr. Miller is also a candidate for Planning Commission. I don't believe he can sit on both, can
No,
they?
can't. No.
So the dilemma here is if you reappoint him, and I believe the last we had heard, 2 of the 4 candidates for planning commission had pulled out. So he's gonna get appointed to planning commission in all likelihood.
Maybe.
Okay, well, in any event, if you just said, you might want to do planning commission first, or have that discussion right now, can we do that out of order?
Sure.
Because if you appoint him to this, then you're turning around in 5 minutes and creating a vacancy to fill his vacant seat.
Well, and John told me, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but you'd rather serve on planning commission than Boza. Okay. He's nodding in the affirmative.
I think there's only been a couple BOZA's meetings since I've been
So
here.
then we gotta advertise for one.
We'll have to re-advertise, well, depending on what happens with planning commission, you'd have to.
So let's do the planning commission and make it real fun. Why don't we do that,
That's
okay?
kind of what I'm thinking.
All right.
And Dina, the planning commission is mayor, the board, the zoning board is city council, just for new council members. Okay.
council.
That's because their decisions get appealed to, I think that's generally because their decisions get appealed to district court, not anything else.
From both.
Yeah.
So, we have planning commission, and there was 4 people that put in for the planning commission. Well, as of yesterday and today, 2 people pulled out. And so that leaves it down to 2 people. It was gonna make my job hard, but now it's not gonna make it very hard at all. I'm gonna appoint on the planning commission, Gail Nelson and John Miller. So you're both gonna be on planning commission. Rudel Mergelman and Christine McGovern pulled out. So you're both on it. Congratulations. Now, let's go back to Boza. And we'll have to advertise. We have a vacancy there and we need to advertise for that.
Yes.
So if anyone's interested in the Board of Zoning adjustments, please put in for it. And we need just 1 vacancy as there is, so we just need 1 person.
If you want to give them a date to get their
Yeah.
letters of interest to.
What do we usually get, 2 weeks?
Why don't we put an advertisement in the paper and have it close the Friday at noon before your next council meeting, so you have time to, let's see if 19th, so, yeah, that would give them maybe not quite 2 weeks, but if we could put a quick advertisement in there. Then if,
You'll have to ask that guy sitting right
You
there.
can't advertise it until next week. The paper's already done because you changed the meeting date.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was
Okay, so
Tuesday.
why don't we have it go and why don't you just have it close? I do have a calendar. I need a calendar.
Your phone, or your computer. Here's a calendar.
Our next meeting's February 1. The meeting following that will be February 16th, I think, because of
Why don't we have it
President's
closed
Day.
February 7th, and then that gives you more time?
Is there a Boza meeting? They have enough people on the board though, don't they?
We have a quorum.
Okay, that's all we're worried about.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you had it closed either February 7th or February, well, is that Friday?
That's a Sunday.
Oh,
So
February 5th.
5th.
February 5th or 12th? Or maybe have it close the 11th so that there's plenty of time to get it in the packet the next day. Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
So we'll advertise for it to close February 11th.
Okay.
And we'll do some recruiting. I see a couple people out in the audience who we may, I think at least 2 that we can try to twist a lot, so maybe 3.
Well, with a high-paying job like that, I think you have a problem. Yeah.
We'll try anyways. Worst they can say is no.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to move along to the Resolution 1-2016 to support USDA grant. And that's Wade and Mike Delarentis.
Hello, good evening. As you know, we've been working with the USDA on grants. We got a grant with the police department last year and the year before that. They have a program, rural business development program, and just just their whole rural agency here is, their whole directive is to help rural areas with economic development. And with our Chicago developers that have been looking at Florence and the region, we've been working very closely with them. They have a number of programs, feasibility studies, which is what we're working on now. They also, though, lead to relationships that could help us get money to extend infrastructure, water lines, all sorts of things. I think the USDA Rural Agency in Colorado is actually doing a really good job, and they really want to work with Florence. They really enjoyed working with us with the last couple of projects. So this project in particular is just a resolution to say basically that there was chance to have a public comment, and that City Council was aware of that. We're partnering up with the FEDC to put in a grant for a feasibility study, and so this would look at Florence, not just the areas I think that the Chicago developers were interested, but just the whole city, and see kind of what types of businesses would be most feasible and what types of costs would it cost for some of the infrastructures. It would also kind of cement our relationship with the USDAs. So if we go to the next phases, we have some more realistic numbers to run if we have to start funding some large infrastructure projects to extend infrastructure to do things in different parts of the city. But USDA staff, I've only spent a little bit of time on this. The FEDC staff, Diana's done a great job, and Rob Brown have spent a lot of time working on this grant. And luckily, there's no match money to get additional points. You need over 50%, and so we thought about maybe putting a little bit of match money in, but $1,000 won't really help. You would need to put $25,000, which we have not budgeted. So I think we'll still stand a very good chance of getting this grant because we have a lot of capacity compared to most rural areas. And basically, we'd be the fiscal agent, and then the FEDC would be helping hire a consultant to do some of the feasibility study. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Wade from council? No? Okay. Yep. I'll wait them up then.
Resolution.
Huh?
You need a motion?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1-2016, resolution supporting an application for the United States Department of Agricultural Rural Business Development Grant in partnership with Fremont County Economic Development Corporation for the amount of $50,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Henniger.
Aye.
Counselor Baker.
Aye.
Counselor Upton.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Vendetti.
Aye.
Mayor Orr.
Aye. Resolution passed. Okay, now we have the first reading of ordinance 2-2016, authorizing the mayor of the city of Florence to execute a municipal grant agreement. You didn't go far, did you?
No.
Okay.
Well, this is perfect timing with the previous discussion we were having with the infrastructure survey. So this is a grant contract. Basically, the city of Florence will be entering into a grant contract with the Department of Local Affairs. This is the grant that I came and I talked about a couple of months ago that we were awarded. And so this is a perfect example of kind of using a little bit of money to match somebody else's money. And as you know, CDOT's going to be reconstructing kind of by Carl's Jr. East in the last part of the East Main. The water line needs to be replaced there, and I think everybody knows the stormwater runoff is pretty awful all throughout there, and the curb and gutter are in bad shape. So CDOT is going to be basically putting that out to bid here in 2016 and building in 2017. So I think Don held off on doing our last project so that we could, if they're going to rip up in the ground, why don't we wait and kind of not duplicate the effort and put our water main in there. So this grant would be for just the design. These things aren't cheap to do. We went in for a grant, I think, for like $2 million, and they came back and said, you guys really aren't ready to do design and build at the same time. So we would be more than happy to review your application just for the design, and even that's kind of expensive, as you can see here. So this grant is just to do the design of reinstalling the water main, on East Main and McCandless, as well as doing a study and coming up with the best place for stormwater to go by Councilman Upton's property down Florence. And whether it's to ponds or whether it's to the river, it's going to be kind of a big job to figure out where that stormwater is going to go. And I think everybody knows even like just a small rainstorm, that area floods heavily. So the other good thing about this one is that we have money in the water budget to do replacements, and so our match for this is actually just money that we had to spend anyway. And so the DOLA money is almost, sometimes with DOLA grants we have to come up with $20,000 or $40,000. Our grant match is substantial, but it's money that we were going to spend anyway. So this is really one of those where, if you're going to spend the money, why not double it? And so we're doubling it for something stormwater that we really don't have a very large budget for. So tonight's just to basically get under contract with the Department of Local Affairs, and I'll let Christy Culp know. Thanks to Brandon for helping and Public Works for helping, and Richard Saxon knows our water system better, so he, in a pinch, helped out with some estimates and numbers of what it would cost to design these things.
Good.
I make a motion?
Well, let's read it first.
You have to read.
Okay.
You have to be read.
Ordinance number 2, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Florence to execute a municipal grant agreement with the state of Colorado Department of Local Affairs to complete the engineering design of the East Main Street and McCandless Avenue water line replacement and to complete storm weather runoff study and plans for the East Main and Florence Avenue project. Whereas the city of Florence is planning to undertake a project to complete the architectural and engineering design of the East Main and McCandless Avenue water line replacement and study stormwater runoff options along East Main and Florence Avenue for a project total of $353,470. And whereas the City Council of the City of Florence has been awarded a grant from the State of Colorado Department of Local Affairs for $176,235 to cover the stormwater study portion of this project. And whereas the City of Florence Water Department has $176,235 funds available for the city's share of this grant match for the water line design and engineering. And whereas the City Council of the City of Florence has prioritized the replacement of the old water lines as a matter of public safety and welfare and has completed the replacement of most of the East Main Street. And whereas the City Council has an interest in solving and correcting stormwater runoff issues to protect the life, safety, and property of its citizens. And whereas the city is partnering with the Colorado Department of Transportation to save money on mobilization and to avoid duplication of efforts. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Florence as follows. The city is authorized to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Colorado Department of Local Affairs in the form attached hereunto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. The mayor of the City of Florence is authorized to sign the same and bind the city to its terms and conditions as expressly set forth therein. Introduced as an ordinance passed on its first reading, it signed an ordinance number and ordered published in the Florence Citizen, the city's official newspaper, on this 19th day of January 2016.
Thank you.
Okay. Pat?
I make a motion that we accept the ordinance number 2 of 2016. Do you want me to read that?
No,
Okay.
that's all right.
Second?
First and second, roll call, please.
Councilor Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Baker?
Aye.
Councilor Vinegar?
Aye.
Councilor Upton?
Aye.
Councilor Vendetti?
Aye.
Mayor Orr?
Aye. Okay. Go through that one. Now we need any committee